Hello everybody, my name's Richard and my time with the Model 3 Highland is up. It is going, it is sold. So why? Why am I selling this car? What's the plan? I've covered nearly 6,000 miles in under 2 months in this car, but my time with it is now up and it's going off to new homes. So having covered quite a lot of miles in quite a short space of time, I really got to know the things I really like about this car, and it's a fantastic car, and the things I don't like quite so much, or maybe there's room for improvement. So in this video, I'm going to run through those quite briefly. We've done quite a lot of other videos of this car, but I'll just try and summarise it and ultimately explain why it's now moving on to a new home and what's next, what's going to be the next topic. So that's what this video is about. My name is Richard, and this is going to be Goodbye Model 3 Long Range Highland. Well, it's not called the Highland, or people always comment, but we all know it is the Highland, don't we? So I'm going to call it Model 3 Highland. Right, so let's get into it. Let's cover firstly what's been great about this car, and there's lots of great things. It's probably ultimately really the best electric car for sale at the moment if the practicality suits your needs. Other cars obviously may offer more space, more seats, hatchback and such like, but it is a very, very good car. The main things to take away from this over the previous Model 3, which is also good, is that yes, the key improvements have been the ride and refinement. So it rides smoother, it's quieter in the cabin, and I've really appreciated that. You know, when you cover quite a high mileage like I do, it does make all the difference in the world. So the suspension now is much more comfortable, I would say. It's still not a wafty car. Don't expect levels of luxury comfort like you still see in some other cars. The ride comfort isn't wafty, but it's just not as fidgety as the old car could be. And it is nice and quiet inside. So it's got a good level of refinement, and that's really been appreciated. The second thing is really the key thing with this car is its remarkable efficiency. Some other cars are also efficient around town and on country roads and commutes, and I could see 5 miles per kilowatt hour on such trips. But when you go out on the motorway, a lot of other cars struggle, but where it is such a nice aerodynamic shape, I could still get 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour out of this, and that's in winter, when you're just starting to see some slightly warmer weather now. So that really good efficiency does give it a real-world range of 300 odd miles. You can quite happily get it over 300 miles, drive it hard and fast in bad weather, it would be under, but you know, it's a real-world 300-mile range car. And especially for the mileage I cover, that's just been fantastic. Add to that, it's four-wheel drive, it's fast, it's nice to drive, but it's just nice and smooth and refined and relaxed. That's the key takeaway from this car compared to the previous Model 3, which is also, and still is, a fantastic car, now available on the used market at really good prices as well. But just that little bit of extra refinement's really brought it in line with some of the competition. Since I got the car, matrix headlights are activated, and they're pretty good. I would, however, say that good though they are, there are other cars that still have better headlights. So it's good that Tesla have eventually got in line with what we expect of cars like this now and have matrix headlights that light up the road really well. And it's really important for me on my drive home through the New Forest Park where we've got lots of wild animals roaming around. So good matrix headlights, and we're now seeing those have rolled out to the 2021 Model 3s and of course all the Model Ys in the UK as well. So they've been coming to those cars as well. An improvement, but ultimately, there are still better headlights out there from a lot of other manufacturers. So I think Tesla still needs to really work on the game and improve that. I'd even go so far as to say my wife's model VW ID3 actually has better headlights. I found the space inside fine for 4 adults, even 5 on occasion for shorter journeys. And the boot is a nice big size as well. And of course, being a Tesla, you've got loads of storage under the boot floor, and you've got storage in the front space as well. Again, the practicality of a hatch would always have been nice with the Model 3, so it could compete with the likes of Polestar and not just have to go to a Model Y to get the hatchback. But it is big, it's been practical, the space has been absolutely fine for our needs as a family. Picked up some wireless headphones, and my daughter's loved having the YouTube and Netflix on here so she can watch it on a longer journey. And although it's not really an ideal position, I did say this before, it's obviously better to have a screen here. She still enjoyed having that, even if she was just selecting through her own selection of music on YouTube and listening to it on the headphones. Now, I did just buy these headphones from a, I won't name the store, a common high street store that rhymes with Bargos. And they've just done they paired up easily, that was a good job. So it's good to have, but again, I guess ideally with two kids, for example, I've got one daughter, so there's no fight over screen, but I think if you've got two children, there would be arguments over who's watching what next, and is that just going to become a hindrance? Possibly. Should this possibly just be an option with Tesla? Probably. It's good that they can control the heated seats themselves in the back and not have to ask from the front, but again, that could have been solved with maybe just a couple of switches rather than having a whole infotainment screen like that. So sort of a mixed opinion on whether that's really worth it or should just be an optional extra or something that can be retrofitted afterwards. I don't know. If you're going to do it, maybe just do it properly and have something up here. The Tesla Model 3 centre console is great with loads of just kind of practical storage, but you can just close the cubby holes. Nice deep storage there too. A couple of cup holders, which now, compared to the previous ones, have got little ridges to hold your cups in place. So that's good. And just having the two phone holders there of wireless charging is great as well. Again, it's just something I always miss when I drive something else, that you might have one wireless phone charger but not two, so you might need to bring another cable with you and plug it in separately. So, you know, this bit are really good. The seats have been improved for the Model 3 Highland, and as I said before, I think they're actually good. It's nice to have ventilated seats for the summer, and of course they're heated as well. They're comfortable. However, we should really see, I still find the seat base too short, which I've mentioned before, and there's just no adjustable thigh support. Again, you see adjustable thigh support in lots of cars at much lower prices than this, so if you're going to have shorter seat bases, at least make the thigh support adjustable. Tesla, please, it should just be a thing. I like the ambient lighting across the dashboard, it looks smart. I think Tesla could use this a bit more. So again, comparing to VW ID4, ID3, they actually use this light strip as it goes red if there's a warning, like, you know, a car's getting nervous of a potential collision. And it also strobes when you've got to turn left or turn right in cars like the VW group cars. And I don't see why Tesla probably couldn't bring that into this. I think it would be good. The reason I like the strobing is that you just have the nav on mute and it doesn't need to interrupt what you listen to as a podcast or a radio station, something like that. So, you know, the fact that you can have the radio, the sat nav on mute, but, you know, be reminded when you do have to turn off, for example, I think that's how that light strip could be used better. So maybe we'll see that in a future Tesla update. Of course, the Tesla supercharging network's brilliant. It's easy to use. You know there's going to be plenty there and working and available. There's only a few sites now which tend to get a little bit busier, or they're the older V2 sites, but it's moving forward so quickly. The reality is with a Tesla, and especially a car long range like this, I would jump in this car now and I'd just drive all the way down to Barcelona or Rome without thinking about it, and that says a lot. So just knowing that Tesla supercharged network there is a key strength. But what I also like about the Tesla mapping is just the ease of use. So for example, when we're touring like a new area or on holiday or in an area we don't know so much and we just want to move around the map and look around for places to go or which road to take, you can see this is just so nice and easy to use and scroll around, and it's easy to take that for granted. But I've been using another car recently, and although that other car has things like Apple CarPlay, when you use things like Google Maps on Apple CarPlay, you actually can't tend to pinch and zoom around. You've got to push a button and zoom out and then move it with a toggle one way, left or right. So I really miss the ease of that. And in fact, even in the Tesla, you can just say, well, look, find me something to do, or I'm hungry, and it will go and find local places to eat with a link to their website, and you can just call them up. And that is really good. And I just always miss that when I'm not in one of these. So not really specific to the Highland, that's a Tesla thing in general, but as I've now not been using this car for a week or two, I miss that, I really do. Tesla software, really no matter where you look at it, is just nice, easy to use. The app is really good and integrates well, and it knows it's connected to your home battery system and your charger, and the integration there is great. Dog mode is fantastic. We have a small dog, so again, when we're away or even just out for the day and we want to pop into somewhere for lunch or go into a shop where the dog can't go, then you pop dog mode on. It keeps the air conditioning running, which you can do in a lot of cars, but this leaves a message on the screen to say, don't worry, the dog's fine. And other cars just don't do that. It could be done, but they just don't. And of course, that's, you know, if you don't have a dog, it's probably not that useful. But if you've got a dog, it's just a really useful thing that only Tesla has. And the same really with Sentry mode and the dash cams. The cameras record onto a little USB stick in the glove box that comes with the car, and it works brilliantly for either Sentry when the car's parked up, or as a dash cam when you're driving and a close call or even an accident, or you need to report somebody doing something silly. it's just good that it's there. And other cars, they're starting to come out with sort of like live view camera systems, for example, in the BMWs and Mercedes, but it's not as good, doesn't work as well. The way you view live cameras live on the Tesla app is great as well. So again, I've probably covered before lots of aspects of Tesla software, but that's always one of the key things I miss not using this car. And phone is a key. Again, something I take for granted when I'm using a Tesla, that you just have your phone in your pocket and the car will unlock when you come up to it, and it will lock when you walk away from it. You don't need to have keys on you, and I find that very useful. Something you always have to remember, grab car keys, and again, have our collection of keys again. So phone is a key. Again, I don't know why all manufacturers don't just have that. So the Model 3 Highland really is just a superb car all the way around. I will absolutely emphasise that. It's been great to have it, it's been great to own it, it's been great to cover the high mileage I do in just a couple of months. Now, before I get into why I'm selling it, let me just cover off some of the slightly negative aspects or things where I think there could be room for improvement, or where I find things in other cars slightly better. I've got to be realistic about it. It's got to be a balanced review. So there are a few things where I think Tesla could maybe listen, learn, improve, change as they continue to evolve over time. Now, none of these reasons I will highlight are why I'm selling the car. Let's just put that out there. We'll tell you why I'm selling the car in a moment. But firstly, the door handles. Again, I always say this, it's petty, I know, in a way, but one, no lighting in the door handle, especially in a black car like this, in the dark, you cannot see it. You walk up to this kind of dark, you can't see where the doors are, and there's fingerprints all around the door here. And even then, you know, this action is okay, I've got used to it, but again, some people who haven't been in a Tesla before, kind of like, what do I do? And kids find it a little bit more awkward to push this. So, in reality, I would just like, and I have this on, again, most other cars, you walk up to the car and it will know you're getting close and light up the door handles for you and unlock the car. So you know exactly where to go and what to do without kind of having to think about it. Not that once you got used to it, you have to, but just have it. Have a puddle light here to light up the area. Have a light in the door handle here. It's all easy to do, and that's why I just don't understand why it's not there yet. So I'd love to see that. So we've said this before as well, but the Tesla rain sensor is a bit rubbish. That's probably the best way to put it. However, I think recently it's slightly improved, and there are talks of an update coming through which will see improvements to the rain sensor function. I guess it's just been a bit of a frustrating experience. If you've owned any Tesla Model 3, Model Y over the last couple of years, it's been a pretty poor show when it comes to rain sensors, when every other car can do it fine. I can drive a much older, much cheaper car, and the rain sensor just works every time. I don't even think about it. Then you're in a Tesla, it's frustrating, and then you have to find on the screen, you know, or push the button, then scroll the other thing left to right. It should just work. It's one of those things. So, you know, that is a really important update that needs to come through. It is a safety aspect at the end of the day, Tesla, so just get the rain sensors working. It's frustrating. Now, the lack of stalks is the biggest concern for a lot of people, and I can understand that. Again, I've said this before, I'm actually okay with it. I got actually quite used to indicating off the steering wheel and activating the wipers from here. That's fine, and for the drive and reverse, it does normally guess quite well which direction you're going to go. However, when you're sort of shuffling around and manoeuvring, the only bit I will complain about is, let's say I'm going forwards here now, and I'm just going to do a couple of quick shuffles and you want to go backwards. That works, right? But what you can quite easily get is you pull that back but just not far enough, and it doesn't always engage it. But now I'm trying to demo it, it works perfectly. Maybe they've improved that. Because sometimes if you didn't pull it quite all the way back, it wouldn't engage it. But that is now solved. Okay, well that's not a thing anymore because that seems to work perfectly. It was just kind of, if you didn't drag it right to the bottom, it wouldn't engage it, but that's been changed, that's been improved. And look, whilst we're here, let me show you, we don't have any parking sensors on this car, but we use this Tesla Vision, and actually, I think this has been absolutely fine, no problem at all. Tesla Vision Park Assist has been no problem. I've had no issues with that at all, so I wouldn't put the lack of parking sensors as a concern either. So, no stalks, for me, no problem, but I do understand for some people it's going to take either a bit of getting used to it, it just isn't as easy. No parking sensors, again, for me, that hasn't actually been an issue at all. Tesla Vision, got it. Good. Well, I'm glad they sorted this out. That works. That works every time, doesn't it? Just a little flick. They've changed that, haven't they? That was different, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, job done. Well done, Tesla. Smug bastards. Let me mention Autopilot. So this car has just a standard Autopilot. I still don't think it's worth, at the moment, spending the extra $3,500 for enhanced or the extra $6,800 for FSD, and those prices are probably going up as well. The standard Autopilot you get, look, radar cruise, all good, that works fine. It does keep it in its lane. You can tell it's going to be very, very capable, but again, it's just a bit frustrating how slow the progress is getting with this. So in reality, I find, again, other cars I prefer using. Now, there's different opinions, and Gin's behind the camera here is swear by Autopilot. I actually prefer using the system in some of the VWs, Audis, Porsches at the moment, because it just works a bit more seamlessly with you still actually driving. Because, for example, you're driving along, there's a bit of a pothole in the road, common at the moment, everywhere, and you just want to swerve around that. You know, it could be even on the motorway, dual carriageway, you just want to move around it or move away from the truck that you're passing, and the Tesla kind of fights you, then it cancels the system. Other cars allow you to move around quite a lot in the lane if you decide to do so, and then you kind of release the steering wheel and they centre back in and get back on with the job. Other cars will read and react better to street limits, speed limits, for example. So a section of dual carriageway, I come down in the morning and it goes from 70 to 50 as you get into an urban area, and the Tesla just sails on at 70. So if you're not paying enough attention, you just carry on at 70 and get a speeding ticket. Other cars, again, even my wife's VW ID3 goes, it's 50 ahead, and then it slows down to 50 when you go through the change of speed limit, and I don't have to think about it. And the reality is it just works really well. So I think other cars won't have the same capability as a Tesla, but in day-to-day use at the moment, and certainly on busy motorways, the M25, I actually find them just nicer to use. So I've sort of been a bit frustrated with Tesla Autopilot, if I'm honest. Got to say it. That's my opinion. Like I say, Gin's here, you know, he trusts it, well, I don't say trusts it more, but he uses it and swears by it and uses it a lot, and I just find it a little bit frustrating. So it's a matter of opinion, but I think, you know, again, Tesla have got to be realistic about where other manufacturers are with their systems. I mean, with Ford, and the Mustang Mach-E, they're actually allowed to have hands-free driving on motorways in the UK now, so why don't Tesla, you know? So are they now falling behind a little bit? Is it just a bit frustrating moving forward? Okay, well, that's probably enough of my little rant there. It can do some good things. It's good to have it, but I just want to see more progress and more consistent ease of use. Does that make sense? I hope so. It's important to do a factory reset and clear your car before you hand it over. Before I do that on this car, my efficiency since I had this car is 245 watt-hours per mile, so a bit better than 4 miles per kilowatt hour. Overall, everything. That's motorways, school runs, cold frosty morning starts, really sort of not trying. That's a bit of everything. And some awful weather we've had at the beginning of this year as well. So, and the trip to Scotland, everything. So 245 watt-hours per mile, my overall average can easily be better, and I often see more like 220 watt-hours per mile on journeys. So it's a very, very efficient car, especially comparing, you know, with the speed it's got, the performance, and it is good, it's good. That's a good number, that's a good number. So there we have it. I've given a sort of real world feedback there, including a couple of niggles and negatives. Again, it's a matter of opinion, it's just me. And I don't want that to detract from just what a very, very capable and a supremely efficient EV this is. It is a fantastic car. There's no two ways about it. Anyone buying one's going to be super happy with it. Again, don't let me put you off. I've just got to bring in some of my, you know, counter criticisms from both sides to keep it real world. If you've got one, you're going to love it. They're great, and it does nearly everything so very, very well. You know, in a way, it's almost too good and too efficient at everything. You know, does it even lack a bit of character as a result? I don't know. Potentially, there are other cars that are sort of flawed, but then they have a bit of character. And probably the Taycan was the best example of that. I had a Taycan for a long time, and it wasn't as good as an EV, and the software was nowhere near as good. And it was sort of flawed, but in a way, it had a bit of character for that. And, you know, did I miss a little bit of that with this? Well, kind of as well. But it is superb, really good. So why am I selling it? I guess that's what I'm coming on to. Well, look, I cover a lot of mileage. I travel around a lot, and we buy and sell cars, so we're always driving everywhere to collect things. And ultimately, the way I started this business was by really not having a car for very long, then moving on to another car, then I want to try another car, and I've always been into cars, I want to try lots of different cars. And so I wouldn't even say I get bored of it, because the Tesla's always kept that boredom at bay because they're always changing with their software updates and new features, but it's always good to try other things. So, and if I keep one car, if I kept this for a year, I'd have 60,000 miles by the end of the year, probably even a bit more than that. So what I always used to do, and will now try and get a bit back into, is have a car, drive it for a week, a month, then sell it, move it on before I kind of really lose money on it. I've lost a little bit on this over new, but it's been good to have this car, to test it, to really get to know it, and then do some video content. So I hope you've enjoyed the video content on the Model 3 Highland. So the plan now is basically to try other cars. It's as simple as that. I'm only selling it because we want to try other cars. And my plan, I think at the moment would be quite good, is to kind of almost buy a car each week and run it for a week as my family car, as my work car, really use it. So not just have a car for an afternoon and film a little review on it, but actually use it, give you some real world usage, efficiency, you know, what I like and what I don't like about other cars, and mix it up quite a bit as well, from, you know, a cheaper end of the EV used market to the more expensive end and some of the new cars coming out as well. So hopefully what we've got coming up is just some more content so we can feed back some good, sensible and honest reviews from real world usage, not just, you know, a press car for an hour, you know. So that was the idea with this. I hope you've enjoyed the content, and that's what we want to do going forward, with a real mixture. So for example, over the last few days, I've been driving a VW ID3 with a bigger 77 usable kilowatt-hour battery. It's in fact a bigger battery than this. And in fact, that ID3 has some features in that car which this car doesn't have. I've been really enjoying it. And it's a much cheaper car than this. So if you want to see more about that, make sure you're subscribed, because one of the videos coming up will be my life in the week with a VW ID3. A Tour Pro S spec, and actually really quite good. There's some of those things where you can see, because VW have been doing this a long time, there's some really good little user aspects that wouldn't do any harm for maybe Tesla to consider some of those things in the future. Again, with the Tesla though, it's all possible to just enhance it with software updates and change things in the future. That's the great thing about these. So my time with this car is up. Really has been fantastic. You know, again, take into context some of the little criticisms I have. I can moan about anything, but this has been great. I don't really want to sell it. It suits my needs perfectly, really, which is a nice, comfortable, quiet car, can whiz around when it's super efficient, do the mileage. But I think for common sense and practical purposes, let's move it on, let's try some more stuff, and that way there's some more videos coming soon, so make sure you're subscribed and you'll see them coming up, and turn your notifications on for those new videos. So, see you in the next video very soon. You can tell by the amount of dead animals on the front here that I've been making good use of the car. They wake up and they look around a little bit, so you can actually creep out and you can see down the road in both directions.